I got it. Good evening. Got it. Okay.
You're on.
How's that? Better?
Okay, I can do that.
Good evening, everybody. Today is Monday. It's October 18th, 2010, and I would like to call this meeting of the Norfolk City Council to order. First, I need to inform you this is an open meeting. Posted in the northwest corner of this actual room is the Open Meeting Act. Therefore, members of the public, I would ask you to stand, if you would, please, for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we'll continue with roll call.
Foy, Lange,
Here.
Van Dyke,
Here.
Reeder, Curran, Cinnamon,
Here.
Faust,
Here.
Saunders.
Here. All right, under action, first thing on the agenda is a request for approval of the consent agenda. I will advise you that item number 8, Resolution 2010-32, as well as item number 11, Resolution 2010-34, per staff, have been asked to be deleted. So with that, I would ask for a motion for approval, deleting items 8 and 11 of the consent agenda.
Your Honor, I would move the consent agenda with the deletions of 8 and 11.
Second that, Your Honor.
Motion with a second, with deletions of number 8 and number 11. If you will please vote.
All councilpersons voting in the affirmative.
As well included in your packet was the full agenda before us tonight. Motion to approve the full agenda as posted.
So make the motion, Your Honor.
Second.
We have a motion with a second to approve the full agenda. If you will please vote.
All councilpersons voting in the affirmative.
Okay. Under other action this evening, special presentations. We're going to look to Norfolk area recruiters. Mr. Jay Kenobi to come forward, if you will, please, Jay, and give us presentation.
All right. Thank you very much. First thing I'll talk about a little bit is the direction where Norfolk area recruiters is going right now. We've just recently, in the last year, we partnered up with Elkhorn Valley Economic Development Council to kind of make two entities working towards a little bit of the same. They're chasing a lot of businesses. We're chasing a lot of people to bring back to Northeast Nebraska. Recently, just in the last 2 weeks, we started a co-op with Nebraska Renaissance. Nebraska Renaissance is a group based out of Lincoln that covers the entire state and is very big into data, finding out where the problems are, finding the impacts of economic development, population declination, things like that. So there's two entities now that Norfolk Area Recruiters is working with continually. Hopefully you are all receiving our emails, which is about once a week, kind of giving an update. I want to go into where now we're going as an organization. We meet 4 times a year, and the format is real simple. The first 10 to 15 minutes, we want to bring in young professionals to get networked into our community and welcome into our community. So any young professional coming back, item on the agenda. The second thing is we have guest speakers to talk about economic development, to kind of get the people that are at the meeting to start thinking how they can be part of economic and growth in the community. Starting to think of dynamic ways. And we've got Caleb Pollard coming for this next meeting on November 2nd to kind of show them how that he's doing economic development in the rural community that he lives in. And the third thing we do in every meeting is we go over resumes. Resumes right now are kind of crazy. We're getting about 10 a week. 10 families wanting to move back to Norfolk. Honestly, we don't even know what to do with all of them. Because it's all volunteerism. It's a big network. The network you guys are in, where you see the emails, is up to about 200 to 300 people. I've thrown this out a couple times. My goal is to have 5,000 people, because you can't have enough. And speaking along the term of why I came up with 5,000, we decided to make the decision about 6 months ago to offer to include West Point, Wisner, Albion, Battle Creek, Stanton, Pierce. I think I named them all. Up and down the highway. And what we're going to show you tonight is a membership agreement. This is really different because I know we come in here and you guys support us and you say, okay, you guys keep working and we'll give you some finances. But we've always heard you got to have stability. And one of the things that we've done for 5 years, 6 years, Norfolk Area Recruiters has been doing this on volunteerism, basically a few grants, a little bit of city money. Now we're going out and we're saying, okay, each community we're going to offer a membership to. And this membership has, and I'm going to give you each one of these, and you obviously don't have to go over it tonight, but it lists what we do for you. And then what you're going to receive back and what we're going to charge. Now, I'm not asking for city to financially come up with the dollar amount. But what we're trying to do is people within the community. For example, we went and spoke to West Point last couple weeks ago. We've spoken to Albion. We're going to Wisner this Wednesday. We were at Dr. Dave Heinemann's office this morning. We're going to these communities and we're saying we have a large database, and basically what it boils down to is we went out to these communities 6 months ago and said, we would like all your former alumni. Well, they dumped them in different ways, in different formats. We took that, and we have about 12,000 former graduates in the area. Ran them through a national change of address list. So now it's updated. We're finding out their careers, their email addresses. And now we're going back to the communities and saying, okay, we have this monster database that was actually made, it took us 3 years. For volunteers, it does. But it was, Dave Heinemann actually was the one that kind of came up with this, and he got us in contact with Peter Kiewit Institute. And they made this monster database with 12,000 names in it, all these graduates, in the same format, through national change of address. And now we're mailing those people out. And to come back to go to our website. So that's why we're always on everybody about post your job, because now those 12,000 people are being promoted to look at Northeast Nebraska on norfolkarea.org. The problem is, you can only do so much for free for so long. So I'm sure you're familiar with on projects. So, when I want to hand these out, we are looking for anybody that wants to be supported in a community. It's going to be employers, it can be city council, it can be anywhere. But what it boils down to is we're going out to all the small towns, which is all the towns I've mentioned, for $4,000 a year. For $4,000 a year, that community can be a part of Norfolk Area Recruiters. That means we will mail your database 4 times a year. That means you will be allowed to post your jobs as a community however many times you want. The city of Norfolk, we had to be fair because guess what all the other towns said? What are you doing in Norfolk? Charging Norfolk $15,000. It doesn't have to come from city council. If it wants to, hey, that'd be great. But we're looking for it from somewhere. So it might be employers, it might be who knows what. But in Norfolk, we're looking for $15,000 so that this program can continue without doing fundraisers, without continually trying to rely on back of grants. Because the more time we spend on fundraisers, the less time we're spending on who? The prospects. That's what everybody wants. They want results. And so we can't be running around doing fundraisers. And so we're really, kind of after 6 years, we're really switching it and saying, you know, Pierce, you want in? It's $4,000. Battle Creek, you want in? Albion, you want in? $4,000 to all those. $15,000 to Norfolk. I guess we'd like for you to consider a portion or whatever you feel is right for a city to support us so that we can post all the jobs in Norfolk. We can send mailings to those people 4 times a year. We can continue to make this database. We want it to be so personalized that if Norfolk High calls us and says we need a biology teacher, we can go into that 12,000 names, look for 7 biology teachers, give them to Norfolk High and say, there you go. Why don't you recruit one home? That's where we want it to go. Now, that takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of mailings, but we can get it done. We survived 6 years of something new, and I think now we've got a pretty good formula, a better track record, and that's what we're doing as we go forward. So every community understands Norfolk Area Recruiters. I'm not just coming to the city of Norfolk. Every community is going to have a shot to join. And like I said, it might be one person in Wisner says, here's $4,000, then they're in. It might be $100 a time, but in the end, for a community to be in, that's what we're looking at. So we've outlined the benefits, features, the game plan, and right now we're hitting over 1,000 hits a day on our website. The more mailings we send out, the more people go to the website. And the more, the more employers put jobs, guess what happens? More people come back, because it is about, it's a lot about that. They want an opportunity. So, like I said, we presented this to Governor Heinemann this morning. It took about an hour. We went down with Nebraska Renaissance. We went down with EVDC. We went down with NAR. We brought a carload of people down there. And we presented. It took about an hour. I won't take an hour of your time. But I wanted you guys, you've supported us in the past. I know you get our emails, but sometimes it's best just to come explain what we're doing, why we're doing it. And we do not, we feel it's a very good game plan, but we are open to suggestions because, as we found out this morning, at the state level, it's just pretty unique program. And we know it's going to evolve. The recipe's not set. So if you have suggestions or ideas, they're all out there. The latest email you saw was a couple from Pittsburgh. That's one of our new ideas. We call them and say, send us a photo. People look at emails if there's a photo. So we're send me your photo. I don't care if it's dogs, cats, kids, spouses, whatever you got. Send us your photo, what you want to do back here, we send that out. But right now, we've got, like I said, 200 to 300 people that look at the emails. We'd like every employer and everybody involved in employing people because, I used to go to school with her. I used to go to school with him. That sort of thing. So our goal is 5,000 people. A monster database of names and a monster email list when we send out group email. Any questions?
So I'm going to assume the governor was rather supportive of your efforts here.
Oh yeah. That's about the 9th trip we made down there. He keeps telling all these communities about the Norfolk area recruiters, and so we keep having to feel like get him updated and make sure he understands where we're always going because it has changed. Through 6 years there's been some growth, but he's been very supportive.
He'd like to see it go statewide.
Yeah.
He wants the entire state of Nebraska to be different.
Yeah, he mentioned.
So you're taking that on?
I know, I told Jay, if he would have hired me on the spot, yeah.
And we're excited about working with Nebraska Renaissance. What they're really giving us is this huge, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's to make Nebraska better. And it goes from tax laws to parks and rec to government to housing. And they have the ability, I talked to Dr. Eric Thompson last week, who they referred us to. And the cool thing is we were endorsed to go to Nebraska Renaissance by Jeff Shear in Snyder, Nebraska. So think of how big NAR is, it's getting wider and wider. But this Eric Thompson, he's actually being able to pull up that we know of 60 families we've recruited back in the last 5 years. He's going to show the economic impact, which is really going to be powerful when you start doing, if everybody bought a $100,000 house, 60 families, there's a little bit of, and if everybody has one child, there's 60 more kids in the school system, which equals to how much more federal dollars, state dollars, so he's going to be able to quantify a lot of that. The other thing that we found is the awareness. We really struggle with that when we go out to these towns. We're okay, we're fine, and so we need numbers to show that you're declining at 3%, and the 20-year outlook looks like this. So Nebraska Renaissance and obviously EVDC has been great because when they find a business, then they introduce us to the hiring people at that business and we can start matching up. So NAR is not by itself like it was probably the first 4 to 5 years. We've agreed to grow in ways that use the resources that are out there.
Jay, do you chart by states where a lot of these are coming from? Or you don't get time to do that maybe, yeah?
We have that information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all over the board.
All over.
Is it?
It's amazing that people don't. The easy thing about NAR is Nebraska sells itself. That's because they grew up here. We don't have to recruit them and say, boy, you should see Norfolk now. They come back for Thanksgiving. They come back for Easter. So the key is find the opportunity. And it's growing in the community. Brooke from the chamber, who was just hired, Dennis Houston, 3 of the 4 candidates they came down to, 3 were NAR people. That's pretty impressive. When the 4 candidates for that job, 3 were NAR. And the gal that accepted the position, what happened was her mom told her to go to the website. We didn't even email. We didn't send them, but her mom knew there's this organization out there and they have a website. So she goes on the website, finds a job, sends her resume in the Chamber of Commerce. That's nice when those things are starting to happen. And then I was kind of impatient about this all happening, but I guess 6 years later, the reputation and the brand is there, so it's working. The hard part is now the finances. I mean, how do you do it? The board met numerous times. We don't want to keep going back to everybody. Well, and there'll probably be communities that say, maybe Madison or Battle Creek or whatever might say, well, we're not going to do it. Well, then we're not going to mail your people. And we can't keep doing it unless you have to invest yourself. And we don't think $4,000 for a town or $15,000 for Norfolk. We think that's fair because that's about what we need to run. We're going to stay volunteers, and we want to stay volunteer because that gives it the sense of ownership. And nobody pawns everything off on this person or that person. So it takes between mailings a year, 4 mailings a year, 12,000 people. That can get a little expensive. Hopefully we get, in the next 2 to 3 years, we get email. And then we're also able to find out, by finding out the category of where they're employed or career, we're hoping we can find the self-employed people, and guess what we'll do to those? Give those to EBDC. So all the self-employed people that live somewhere else, we can kind of say to them, hey, what do you think about this? So that's why it all hopefully will work out. Everybody going forward.
Great efforts, guys, great efforts. Any questions at all from any of the council? Or? Okay. Appreciate your being here tonight.
You bet.
Thank you. Okay, and moving on to a proclamation here, White Ribbon Against Pornography. Whereas pornography degrades and dehumanizes both female and male participants, and whereas, according to a survey conducted in 2004 by the National Center on Addiction and Substance Abuse, 45% of teens have friends who regularly view internet pornography, and whereas the Supreme Court has ruled that the First Amendment does not protect obscenity and that legitimate government interests are furthered by enforcing obscenity laws, and now therefore be it resolved that I, Sue Fookman, Mayor of the City of Norfolk, Nebraska, by the power vested in me, do hereby proclaim Sunday, October 31st through Sunday, November 7th, 2010, as White Ribbon Against Pornography Week in the City of Norfolk and the surrounding area, and call upon all citizens to wear or to display white ribbons as a sign of their commitment to community standards of decency and their support for enforcement of the laws against obscene materials. Did you tell me there is no one here?
No one here.
No one here?
I can pass this to Ivan.
Okay, all right. Then, Mr. Van Dyke, I think we'll let you forward it on to.
I can handle that.
Okay, thanks. Under public hearings, then. First is a request for a public hearing for the mayor and the city council to sit as a board of equalization to levy a special assessment in the amount of $144.81 against property at 812 South 11th for mowing, litter removal, and tree maintenance. So I would ask for a motion to adjourn as mayor and council and to convene as the board of equalization.
So move, Your Honor.
Second that, Your Honor.
Motion with a second? Discussion here? Oh, we need to vote on that. I'm sorry.
All councilpersons voting in the affirmative.
Okay, and now we can go right into discussion of.
This is just another one of the public hearings that is required to levy a special assessment against a property. Since the city did the mowing and weed removal, the property owner was notified, did not do it, and the city went ahead and performed the work. So this is the way we put the fee against the property. It will go with the land.
Okay.
Answer any questions?
If no questions, I will close the hearing and then ask again for a motion to adjourn as the Board of Equalization and reconvene as mayor and council.
So move, Your Honor.
Second.
Okay, and does that allow us then to take action for, okay.
Well, no, we have to vote on that.
Yeah, roll call on that. Okay, and if you will please vote then.
All councilpersons voting in the affirmative.
And so that allows for a minute. Okay.
No, you have to vote.
Now I move Resolution 2010-35.
Levying the special assessment. Okay, a motion and a second. Any further discussion at all? If not, then please vote.
All councilpersons voting in the affirmative, Resolution 2010-35 is adopted, levying a special assessment in the amount of $144.81 against property at 812 South 11th Street.
Thanks, Beth. Okay, next is a public hearing to consider submitting an application to Nebraska Department of Economic Development for a community development block grant in the amount of $30,000 to be used for a data center industrial park and building evaluation. I will open the public hearing, and I believe, you're going to talk for us tonight? You want to
Yeah.
slip over there, if you will, sign in for us and state your
I'm
name.
Lisa Hurley with the Northeast Nebraska Economic Development District. I've been working with EBDC in putting together a plan and working with the Department of Economic Development in getting approval to apply for planning funds for this. What the plan will do is basically put together a master plan that will evaluate the buildings and the sites and make recommendations. We received approval on the proposed scope from the department today, and we just got to get city's approval and move ahead with it, with the application. It's due the end of the month.
Okay.
Do
Any
you have any
questions?
questions on
Any questions at all for
project?
Lisa?
So you're going to go and look for buildings around, like the old Dale's building and things like that, and evaluate them and put them packaged together so we have something to show, or?
Our office won't. Elkhorn Valley Economic Development would like to be part of the process in selecting a planner. They have some cost estimates, and they've been working with some national consultants on what needs to be looked at. But the consultant will look at sites like where the old Tyson facility is and look at the infrastructure, what needs to be done to improve the site and make it a better site to market.
How does that work with low to moderate income persons? I can understand how it would with the home, but I guess I don't understand how it does.
We are going for job creation, basically.
Oh, okay.
By having the site evaluated and knowing what needs to be
Okay.
done, it will long-term result in a business going in there and resulting in some jobs. We're going to use national objective of 3 low to moderate income jobs out of 5 jobs created long-term. So we're estimating extremely low because chances are a facility that would locate out there, at any of the industrial parks here in town, would create more than 5 jobs.
Any other discussion or questions for Lisa?
So
Okay.
the contemplation time for all this, first to get the approval and then the process itself.
We'll submit with the last week of the month. We'll have approval probably by the latest in January. We'll have 2 years to complete the grant.
Okay, then.
I don't see it taking that long.
Okay.
I really don't. I would say a couple months to select a consultant and 6 months to a year to do all the detailed analysis and then go through the public process.
Okay.
But 2 years is what we would have to complete it in by grant regulations.
And where do they look at, Lisa? Is that the community area?
Within
Within the,
zoning jurisdiction, I would assume. I'm not sure what all Dave has in mind, to be honest, but he mentioned the Tyson facility would be a potential location and some other sites out in that general area, about 107 acres. But I don't know particularly
Okay.
what sites. I think he wants to keep it open-ended, so if somebody else has a suggestion or there's some availability, it's able to be looked at.
very good. Well, I sure know data centers are the word of the year, so,
It's a hot issue.
yep.
And then, we're keeping it open-ended with the industrial site, so if it does recommend something else for a location, it gives you some flexibility.
Okay. Any other thoughts or questions? Okay. Thank you very much. We'll close the public hearing then and ask for consideration of Resolution 2010-36 to approve the application.
Your Honor, I would move consideration of Resolution 2010-36.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approving Resolution 2010-36. Any other discussion? If not, I would ask that you please vote.
All councilpersons voting in the affirmative. Resolution 2010-36 is adopted.
All right. Request for consideration of ordinance number 5138, amending the comprehensive plan from single-family residential to commercial at 1224, 1226, 1228 Passock Avenue and 610 Columbia. We have passed this on first and second. This is third reading request tonight.
Move approval on third reading of 5138.
Second.
Motion with a second. If you will please vote.
All councilpersons voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5138 carries on third reading.
Again, we will do on third reading consideration of ordinance number 5139, approving a zone change from R2 to C1 at 1224, 26, 28 Paswalk Avenue and 610 Columbia.
Your Honor, I'd introduce ordinance 5139 for approval on third reading.
Second.
A motion with a second. Again, if you will please vote.
All councilpersons voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5139 carries on second and third, or on third reading.
Next is an ordinance number 5140. Again, on third reading, we're looking to annex a part of the... I don't know that I'll get into all this. We pass this on first and second. If anybody needs to have it reviewed, let me know.
Your Honor, I would move consideration of ordinance number 5140 on third reading.
Second.
We have a motion with a second. Please vote on third reading.
All councilpersons voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5140 carries on third reading.
Consideration of resolution number 2010-37, approving College View 6th edition and its accompanying subdivision agreement.
Your Honor, I would move approval of resolution 2010-37.
Second that, Your Honor.
We have a motion and a second for approval of this resolution. Any discussion? Hearing none? You do have a planning commission report? Okay.
Did I miss that on that? On September 21, 2010, the Norfolk Planning Commission reviewed the final plat of College View 6th Edition and its accompanying subdivision agreement. Tom Hall is requesting this 14-lot subdivision on the north side of College View subdivision. The platting extends the lots approximately 57 feet to the north into Mr. Hall's property. The area that is being added to the College View lots is a shelter belt separating the subdivisions from the SR development south of Eisenhower. All items required for the subdivision have been submitted, and the Planning Commission approved the final plat on a 7-0 vote.
And with that, I would ask that you please vote.
All councilpersons voting in the affirmative, resolution 2010-37 is adopted.
And last, ordinance number 5142, amending ordinance section 24-293 by adding businesses as the business of Scrap Mart 507 North First to the list of private properties eligible for police enforcement to prevent the property from being used to circumvent traffic control devices.
Your Honor, I would move consideration of ordinance 5142 on first reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve ordinance 5142. Any other discussion or any discussion?
Chief.
Okay.
You can't drive through the park.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chief. I didn't even see you there. I heard from you this morning, and I can hear from you again. Please.
I thought you were going along really well there, and I didn't want to interrupt.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
I'm just here to answer any questions that you might have about this. The business has requested that we add them to our ordinance. They've had a problem with vehicles cutting through their lot off of Elm so that they can bypass the stop sign when traffic begins to back up there. This will allow us to do some enforcement of this action. It will also post signs so that any drivers who want to do this at least will have some notice at the entrance there as they begin to cut across. And so we would request that the council approve this so that we can try to assist them in stopping that action.
Okay. Any other questions or discussions for him? True policeman.
It certainly is a safety issue, and I think we should approve this ordinance.
Okay. With no further discussion, then, I would look for a short title.
An ordinance of the City of Norfolk, Nebraska to amend Section 24-293 of the Official City Code to add an address for enforcement action related to driving or turning on public or private property, to provide when the ordinance shall be in full force and effect, and to provide for publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form.
Okay. And I would ask that you please vote.
All councilpersons voting in the affirmative, ordinance number 5142 carries on first reading.
Your Honor, I'd move that we suspend the rules and pass ordinance 5142 on second and third.
Second that, Your Honor.
We can't, gentlemen, we're missing a couple council folks tonight.
That's right.
So,
So we don't got six, do we?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that being said,
try.
Unless
Cesar,
Clint votes. No.
That won't help. I could say I'm for it, but that won't help.
won't hurt either, Clint.
Well, no, you'd have
With
more
that,
traffic tickets to issue then.
I would move we adjourn.
I would appreciate that. We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
We got enough to adjourn.
For this one.